Hello, everyone. I am thrilled to welcome Dr. Arun Chutani. He is a triple board certified transplant nephrologist, which deals with the kidneys, clinician, and an assistant professor at the Chan Medical School at the University of Massachusetts Memorial Hospital. Side note, I went to UMass. Go UMass. Yes,
Well,
love having an alum here today. But I am very excited for this conversation because we are going to dive into healthy aging. We're going to be diving into healthy cellular aging, healthy kidneys, healthy liver, and exploring topics about phytotherapy, telomeres, and different ways that we can help everyone extend their health for longer. So, Dr. Chutani, thank you so much for being here.
oh, it's my pleasure to be here and be in conversation with you, Erin. It's nice to
Yes.
meet you connect from a UMass alum after a long, long time.
I know. I want to say it's been a long time. It hasn't really, but it's been a few years, and already I'm like, oh my God, college. Remember when? Like the good old days. But no, one thing where I wanted to start this conversation here is talking about when I went to a biohacking conference back in May. And so I attended a session about the liver, and I know you deal with the kidneys, but the kidneys and the liver are similar because, as you mentioned to me prior to this call, they are detoxing organs. So I was really fascinated though with the idea of certain organs being able to detox the body because that word is thrown around quite a fair bit. You know, it's associated with diets and different types of, I want to say fads, you know. So I would love if we could first dive into the idea of what does it mean for the body to detox on its own, naturally, not diet fad, the likes of that.
Perfect. So, it's a great question. So the liver and the kidney both are married to each other, actually. Both of them are the detoxifying organs of the body. Much of the metabolism that happens in the body happens at the level of the cells of the liver and of the kidney. And they, harmonize, synchronize with each other. And then whatever is the product or the byproduct of metabolism that is excreted out through both these organs. So a healthy liver, a healthy kidney means overall a healthy and a detoxified system in the body, and even at the microscopic cellular level. And it goes on to say that if your body is detoxified, then generally it is not under the burden of lot of stresses, lot of toxins, promotes longevity, promotes the quality of life.
So when our bodies go through this detox, does that happen after we eat? Does it happen when we sleep? What does it look like in context?
It's an amazing question, The detoxification mechanism is just like the heart which beats 24 hours. So that mechanism is operative 24 hours of the day. Whether we are eating or not eating, whether we are sleeping or doing or any of the activities. At the cellular level, that phenomenon of metabolism, extracting the good products of metabolism and detoxifying the harmful products, it's an ongoing process, keeps on happening day in and day out, 24/7.
So you talk about how it promotes health long term. We're getting out the bad, basically like a trash man, you know, you're taking out the bad stuff, your body's keeping in the good stuff. What and why does our body and its detox system just not work as well sometimes? Is it what do we do or what do we eat or how does lifestyle and even aging start to slow down the trash man?
Right. So, there are two things here. I'll, first mention them separately and then I'll connect the dots. The phenomenon of senescence or aging is basically akin to having a fund of cells in the body. Now, the fund of the cells which are there, they have to be maintained either in a positive balance or at least in a neutral balance. That means the consumption and the death of cells keep on happening every day. And then new cells are produced every day. And whatever the cells are there, they have to be maintained. Now, at any point of time, if the body is in a positive balance, then that means growth is happening. If any time the body is sliding towards a neutral or towards a negative balance, that means senescence is happening. That means the body is not producing more cells or not, adding to its fund of life. That is the basic concept behind it. Now, how is it affected? Generally, what happens is we go through a lot of activities during the day, and our senses keep perceiving a lot of things which are processed in our brain. And if it is processed in our brain, then the brain secretes some hormones which are responsible for the wear and tear of the body. The brain contributes to the release of certain hormones which help to fight the stress, and while fighting the stress, our body can go through wear and tear. And then there is a certain set of other hormones in the body, which are the life preserving hormones. Now, the balance between those two is very essential. If the balance between these two is altered, say if the hormones which are producing the wear and tear of the body under the signaling of the brain and other, hormonal glands of our body, if there is a lot of those hormones, then at the cellular level, they contribute to a lot of, degeneration of the cells by certain molecular mechanisms, and that causes the death of the cells in an effort to fight the stress, in an effort to preserve life. It sounds so fascinating and paradoxical that in an effort to preserve life, all the hormones, all the cells that are, working, they still keep on dying. It's a very, paradoxical thing to, understand, or it may seem very paradoxical on the surface, but the effect of, all these hormones that are happening in the body, the effect of brain signaling that is happening in our body, as long as it is helping to counter the stress, it is okay. But at a certain point of time, it, exceeds that line and starts contributing to the wear and tear of the body as well. And
So,
and when it is contributing to the wear and tear of the body, the toxins that are produced, they are detoxified through the liver and kidney. But at a certain point of time, the efficiency of these organs can be overwhelmed, and that is when you start to have the biological manifestations.
so there's a lot to unpack here. The first part I want to go to is asking what is considered a bad hormone and what's considered a good hormone.
So, in the strict sense of word, anything which contributes to the balance of fund of the cells of the body is considered a good hormone, or and anything which eventually leads to the decline of the body is considered a bad hormone. However, these should not be, construed in the strict sense of word, because in the body everything has to function in a way to preserve life. So even the so-called bad hormones, or the hormones which contribute to the stress or the wear and tear, they help to, um, they help to preserve life to a certain extent by inducing a flight or fight mechanism. But when the flight or the fight mechanism is overwhelming for the body, then the hormones are, then the same hormones assume a bad hormone role, or they become the baddies. Say, for example, the cortisol hormone in our body, it is responsible evolutionally to, maintain a fight response. That is, if you can fight with the situation, you fight. Otherwise, you run away to preserve life. But if you start living under the effect of flight or fight response all the time, then imagine, it's like living in a war zone all the time. And then the same hormones which are responsible for this mechanism, they assume the baddie role.
I'd have to assume, though, that in this day and age, a lot of people are living with that low grade fight or flight.
Yes, yes.
And so how does that, how, when the balance gets tipped, so when you're at a certain point, your brain and your body saying, whoa, 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 okay, I can't handle this anymore. Like, this is just too much stress. I'm trying to use my hormones to help me. But from what I'm understanding you're saying, all of a sudden the hormones can't do their job anymore. They can't help you, and now they're instead contributing to part of the issue. What does that look like biologically? And more specifically, how does that manifest in your kidney and liver ability to detox and what happens after that? If they're not doing the best detoxing job, what happens?
So typically, say for example, if if I may take the example of people who, train for combat jobs, they are living under that simulation of living like in a combat zone. So the brain and the hormone axis in their body is telling them, okay, you have to do this job, you have to perform, you have to live it up to the expectation or, the task which is assigned. And then the body, under the effect of these, starts to fatigue out after a point of time. But still, they keep on signaling and telling you, oh, you have to do this job, you have to perform this. So, after, what happens at the end of the day? The mind or the brain hormone axis is telling you, do this job. But the body essentially saying, I do not have the physical capacity to do it because I'm depleted of energy. But still, under that flight or fight response that is happening continuously, do this job, perform this. So, at the cellular level, under the effect of these hormones, the metabolism of the cell is so adversely affected that it starts building up local toxins in its milieu or, locally. And then eventually the effect of these becomes systematic. And then at the same time, while the liver and kidney is trying to do the detox job, or even the cells at their own level when they're trying to do the detox job, they can do so much only, right? Like, for example, if your body is utterly tired, it wants to go to sleep because that is its natural call. But the hormones which are inducing a fight or flight response in it keep on telling it, no, you have to do it, you have to do. You both of us know, we all know what happens eventually. If you don't sleep for a long time, say, or for example, if your body does not feel rested, well rested, what happens to it?
And so when it comes to the function of the liver, the kidneys, the what you have said help to regulate metabolism, can that translate into things such as um, insulin resistance or diabetes or these other, even high cholesterol, something that's not as serious but could lead to
Yeah,
other repercussions because it's not able to take it out. Basically, it's not able to take out the toxins.
absolutely. That is what happens. So in the body, the the effect of or the homeostasis or the constant state of the body is under the effect of types of two limbs of the nervous system. One is called as a sympathetic, the other one is called as a parasympathetic. The sympathetic is called as the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic is called as the rest and digest. And as long as we have a balance between these two, then the body tends to grow. It is well rested. But say, for example, under the effect of sympathetic nervous system, under the effect of adrenaline rush that the body experiences, the cortisol rush that the body experiences, if the fight and flight response keeps on going up and the rest and digest function of the body does not happen, then essentially the fund of cells that are there in the body, they keep on getting depleted. What happens is, under the effect of cortisol and adrenaline, which is secreted in our body usually, the cells keep on metabolizing at a very fast rate. And the ability of the body is overwhelmed. It cannot clear off all those toxins which come as a result of, this high metabolism under the effect of cortisol and adrenaline. So it does not basically get any time to rest and digest. So all those toxins that keep on accumulating, eventually, the ability of the kidney and the liver, in general, the maintenance systems of the body breaks down.
What's really interesting to me, and what I really think is so intriguing about your perspective, is that it's very different from what the narrative I hear about liver health or kidney health is, which is that, oh, it's okay, it's the food you're eating, you're not exercising enough. There's a lot of blame and shame. And your perspective is really interesting because it's saying, okay, let's focus on an even deeper level, which is, hey, how are you thinking? Your brain is actually very much connected to these organs. How did you come to that perspective versus looking at diet first or ultra processed foods? And if so, do they still have a role in keeping healthy down in these organs?
Absolutely, it is. So, the brain hormone axis or the neuroendocrine axis connects the brain to all the organs in the abdomen or the peripheral organs. The circuitry is through the help of nerves and through the help of hormones. The hormones are secreted in the brain or secreted in the organs. They are poured into the blood, and then as the blood circulates, those hormones reach everywhere in the body. That is one pathway. The other pathway is the brain is connected through nerves to different organs of the body, that is the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So all of these, the neuroendocrine axis or the brain hormone axis governs the whole body. Now, agreed what you said that, exercising is important, right kind of food is important. Those, both of those play a very important role. How food plays an important role is that food, if someone is consuming a lot of ultra processed food, the ultra processed food contains purified sugars. The purified sugars that are consumed in the ultra processed food, the body is not acclimatized to it, or the body is not that is not how the body is programmed. So if you're consuming ultra processed food, then that sugar rush that happens in the body tends to stimulate the release of adrenaline and cortisol to a greater extent and overwhelms the effect of the insulin hormone which is there in the body. At a cellular level, what happens is this ultra processed food and the sugars that are there in it, they serve as pro-oxidants for the body and overwhelm the effects of the antioxidants. Now, if the oxidants in our body under the effect of sugar rush, adrenaline, cortisol, they supersede the effect of the antioxidants of the body at a cellular level, then the degeneration starts to happen. Same thing happens with a person who's not exercising as well. Say if you're not exercising but you're consuming a diet which is plentiful in sugars and plentiful in ultra processed carbohydrates, it's the same thing. Your body's piling up a ton of sugar load, which at a cellular level overwhelms the effect of antioxidants and causes the wear and tear of the body. Now, there is one more, fine line here, that the amount of exercise has to be the right amount of exercise. If the amount of exercise becomes over and above what the body needs, then again the wear and tear happens under the effect of these same hormones because then they induce a fight and flight response. So, both the excesses, excess of food consumption, no exercise, excess of exercise under the effect of, fight and flight response, both of them are not good. An ideal balance is somewhere in between, wherein the body gets time to rest and digest and then, rejuvenates itself. And a lot of times, if that cannot be, taken care of with the help of sleep or sleep deficiencies or poor sleep hygiene, then the role of meditation, yoga, all these practices come in to promote that rest and digest.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I it's you're blowing my mind. I'm telling you, I have never thought about it on such a whole body way. Speaking of whole body, you mentioned this is affecting your health on the cellular level. That's one thing I just picked up that you've been talking about. What what is the difference between the role of the cells versus our organs as main systems when it comes to promoting health as we get older, and especially as it has to do with the hormones and aging and women who go through menopause and are losing some of these hormones? how is it impacting our cells and how does that translate to the function of our organs?
So, I'll take a very simple example. A single household, say a single household is running, is, discarding its waste outside its house, and then a garbage truck comes and picks it up, right? That is generally what happens. Now, a group of households or a large group of households becomes a town, right? In a town, there are a large group of households, and a garbage truck comes and picks up the garbage from each and every house, and that's how the town gets cleaned up. A cell is one, household. A ton of cells becomes an organ or a tissue, and then it keeps on metabolizing, and the neuroendocrine signals are the cleansing mechanism of that on a cellular level. So the brain sends down signals to, to through the hormones and through the brain nerve circuitry to clean up the mess which, which has been produced as a result of metabolism. And then, if that is not, imagine if a garbage collector truck does not come every day or every week on a regular basis, what happens to a town? It would start looking messed up. Exactly the same thing happens. The cells are metabolizing all the time. They're producing their waste products or the garbage. That garbage has to be removed. If it is not removed through the proper management through the brain or whatever, through the hormonal axis, then it's a whole set of garbage that will spill around a town or spill around a group of cells or spill around a group of tissues, organs. It's exactly the same analogy.
So, why is it when we age that the trashmen are slower?
The trashmen themselves need some time to rest and relax. Now imagine if you ask a garbage truck to be on job for 24 hours every single time. The staff that is working, the mechanism that is working will itself break down. It'll say, hey, give me some time to rejuvenate myself, to give me some time to rest, to rebuild my machinery or to rebuild my circuitry. So that is how generally it happens in the human body as well.
So, that I think, not I think, I'm very thankful you painted a picture like the neighborhood example because it really makes it something anyone can understand when it comes to understanding their body, but in a very conceptually digestible way. And I think, at least for me, but I think the question then that many people have is, all right, so I'm getting older. I want my liver to be healthy. I want my kidneys to be healthy. I want my cells to be healthy. But man, I feel tired all the time and sometimes my joints ache and life is hard, you take a beating. So what the heck can I do to support my hormones and my brain and these things that I want to work because then I'll feel better?
To, most of the time it is our external environment or our external circumstances which govern a lot of our perception. There are two ways we can take care of this. Either is let's make everything very flowery, very, nice and hunky dory, or, nice and beautiful, and just make life picture perfect. Let the picture be perfect. Now that is not possible in a real time circumstance, the world of conflict discrepancies that we live in. So the external part is what we cannot change. The internal part is our perception of what is happening. Now, amidst the whole chaos, if the mind is perceiving it as like totally chaotic, or if the brain is perceiving it like totally chaotic and unable to find its it's unable to find its peace looking at the external circumstances, then what it needs to do is needs to resort to something which even amidst the chaos, keeps it at peace, right? If you cannot change the circumstance outside, then you have to change your perception to live with it. Because if the perception is also, declining under the effect of declining circumstances, then survival is not possible. Then life is not possible. Say, for example, we'll again give a very silly example. Say, for example, you're sitting in an exam hall trying to, answer the questions, and the examination is really tough. There are two ways to handle it. One way is to say, "Oh my God, this is like I'm doomed. I cannot answer any question. I cannot do anything." Just whine and cry about it because the external circumstances like that. The second approach is you say, "Okay, the examination paper is difficult. Let me see what best I can do, which questions I can answer, and see whether it can salvage me through the exam." Right?
Hmm.
Second circumstance, what the brain is doing is it's trying to find a way. It knows that the external circumstance is chaotic. Now it has to find its own inner strength. That own inner strength comes as a function of, the restfulness of the brain. The restfulness of the brain comes through different techniques such as, yoga, meditation, right food. So if the brain is under the effect of these, then it can find a restful perception of a chaotic external circumstance. Again, I'm saying a restful perception of an external chaotic circumstance. Then only it can find a solution. Because if your perception is chaotic under the effect of a, you know, chaotic external circumstance, then life cannot exist. Survivability is not possible.
So I have another question, but I think where I'm trying to wrap my head around too is, okay, let's say a person has insulin resistance or something. So they literally have a problem in their body.
Mhm.
It is it tangible? Like, don't they need something tangible in order to heal or start to re-optimize their body again?
Yes, they do. So that can be done in two ways. One is if a person has insulin resistance and is heading towards diabetes, then there are two ways they can handle it. One is they change their food, right? And they change their habits, right? They exercise more, then that would help. Or they take insulin as an external, medication or a therapy.
Mm,
Now, one is an exogenous therapy, the one and the other one is an endogenous therapy. That is your own, you're motivated on your own, you're exercising, you're trying to consume the right type of food. A lot of times, if that is not possible, then you have to resort to external therapy that is there. In the same way, if your body is not able to fight its own set of stresses based on external perceptions or based on the external circumstance, either you change the external circumstance or we change the external circumstance, many a times that is not possible. So then we have to change our coping mechanisms. The coping mechanisms, they are akin to the insulin resistance. Either you change your diet, food, everything which is external to you. If not, then you change your coping mechanism. Either you take the help of insulin therapy or you take the help of, the rest and digest function of the body, either of those two. So that is how, in general, that's how life operates. One is an external circumstance, the perception of the external circumstance. If that is, internalized too much the way it is literally, then it leads to a lot of stress in the body, lot of, dysregulation of brain hormone axis. So if we cannot change the external things, best is to focus on how we can change the internal things.
So, okay, so what I'm also hearing too is that from your perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of these ways in which we can promote long-term health and maybe even preventing all of this, we're not targeting just an organ, we're not targeting a food. We're going to the root, which is how we interpret the world. And in that respect, that could literally help us prevent disease and the exacerbated effects of aging.
True, absolutely true. It's just like saying that if it's raining heavily outside and if you have a leaky house, either you stop the rain or you fix the leaky house. Don't allow the rain to percolate. So if the rain is a is akin to an external stressful circumstance, either you change it. If you cannot change the rain, then fix the house internally, right?
Well, I think we all have a part of ourselves that want to change the rain cloud. Isn't that the truth? Then they just move to Florida or California or Arizona. No, one thing I wanted to circle back to as it relates to drugs and these new types of innovations that are still they're not necessarily in the brain, but they could help with long-term help and give extra boosts are is this idea of phytotherapy. I read that you have a understanding of phytotherapy, and I was wondering if you could explain a little more about this innovation when it comes to care and what it could mean for longevity as it relates to helping our body and, from what I'm assuming, fight external or internal stressors because I feel like that's could be profound.
Absolutely. So, when the external circumstances are, too burdensome, then the internal milieu of the body or the internal constitution of the body has to acclimatize to it. That is what the whole fight of survival is all about. Now, your question about phytotherapy plays a role into it at the cellular level. When our body is under stress, it is there is an imbalance between the oxidants and the antioxidants in the body. The oxidants of the body are under the effect of the bad hormones. That is, they tend to eat up the cellular machinery or the machinery of the cells.
So are the oxidants uh created by the hormones or are they a product of the hormones doing their job?
The hormones are doing their job, but they're in an overdrive, and that is what is causing the cell to go in an overdrive. That is what is causing the metabolism to go in an overdrive at the cellular level. That is producing a lot of oxidants, right? The antioxidants are the scavengers of these oxidants. They tend to remove these oxidants. Say, for example, let me give you a very layman example for this. Say, for example, if your house, if anyone's house produces a certain amount of, garbage every day, right? Now, if you have a party in the house, then after the party, the amount of garbage that is put out is, multiplied to a great extent, right? In a similar manner, if the cellular metabolism is in an overdrive, it will keep on producing the garbage stuff more and more and would overwhelm the ability to get rid of it. Now, this garbage is the oxidants, and the scavenging ability of the body or the cleansing ability of the body is the antioxidants. Now, imagine if there is no efficient cleaning of these garbage products by the antioxidants or the garbage collecting truck, what would happen? So it's exactly the same thing that happens.
So the antioxidants, is that from eating oranges? Is it from eating the healthy food, the vitamin C rich food, or is it also from exercising or sleeping? Like, how do we get more of these antioxidants? Like, that's what we want, I think, right?
This is where the crux of the discussion is. The phytotherapy boosts up the antioxidants or increases the percentage of antioxidant, increases the quality of the antioxidants of the body, enhances the ability of the body to scavenge these oxidants or get rid of them. Now, the phytotherapy has typically, a lot of compounds, say, which are based in grapes, which are based in oranges, turmeric, all of those have certain compounds which boost up these antioxidants. And that is where the role of, phytotherapy comes in as compared to lot of processed foods which does not have adequate chemicals to boost these antioxidants. The natural phytotherapy has got a lot of these substances which can boost up the antioxidants.
Is phytotherapy something anyone can get? Is it on our pharmacy shelves or is it being created?
So, phytotherapy is consuming more natural foods, a diet which is rich in vegetables, a diet which is rich in fruits, a diet which is rich in nuts. All of those boost up our antioxidants in the body. And even if our body is not, adequately replenished with the help of these antioxidant promoting phytotherapy, substances, then there comes the role of adequate sleep, the role of yoga, meditation, all of those which enhance them, basically.
As we're winding down here, can I do a quick lightning round with you and just kind of get really quick answers to some of these questions that are just racing around my mind?
Sure.
Okay, so if yoga and these calming exercises are very good for you, what about sauna and cold plunge and these things that are like, stress? Are those, what is your stance on those?
The sauna and cold plunge help to a certain extent, depending on what are the circumstances or what is the calibration to which we are using them. Not in excess, but in moderation.
Okay. For people who with their liver have fatty liver disease or people who just want to promote healthy liver, does that mean you shouldn't eat fat?
So fatty liver does not happen in one day. Fatty liver does not happen in one day's consumption of fatty food. It is a product of dysregulated metabolism of the liver over a period of decades altogether. So if you want to get rid of fatty liver, that age-old dictum of sleep on time, eat simple light food, exercise well helps a lot, and meditate every day. It's the simplest thing that one can do to get rid of, barring the genetic reasons which are there, which are not under someone's control. But the simplest lifestyle related things is sleep on time, sleep plenty, drink plenty of water, consume plenty of natural food, exercise, do yoga, do meditation. It will take care of things.
Uh, Creatine is a big supplement in the longevity space. Is creatine bad for your kidneys?
So, I see a ton of patients who are going to gym every day, consuming a lot of, processed protein products, including the use of supplemental creatinine. And I see a lot of them eventually, come with lot different degrees of kidney failure as well, or progressive kidney disease. Rather than, if someone has to consume protein rich food to build up their body, I would say consume more natural food. Even if you have to, uh, like, even if people want to use creatinine, rather than just using it in its raw form, which comes in its processed form in, on the shelves of the health stores, I would say the best option would be to use natural proteins. Soybean, some people tend to use eggs, some people tend to use simple animal proteins as well. But I would say use more of phytotherapy related products, more of plant proteins. And there is a reason behind it, the more we eat plant-based food, the less our blood is acidic. The less our blood is acidic, the more it has got the ability to fight off the oxidants. That is, the role of antioxidants in the body is enhanced when the blood is less acidic, and it tends to promote life. But it's a whole different discussion in itself. What we spoke about today has got so many different limbs that can go into a lot of different directions. They can have their own set of, discussions for an hour or so.
I definitely would agree with that. And the my mind is just absolutely spinning with so many interesting new ways of thinking. My last question is if you could tell people from this whole conversation one thing, that's it. Like if you could just drill into people's head one thing you would want them to know about healthy organs, healthy cellular aging, healthy life, what would that one thing be?
The one thing has three subcomponents.
All right, I'll give it to you. I'll let it slide.
So one is sleep well. Take adequate time to sleep away from the electronic devices. That is one. Second is do good amount of yoga and meditation every day. It is different from regular exercise, and it's a whole different discussion in itself, but it is very essential to delve deeper into yoga and meditation. And then the third thing is consume the right type of plant-based food. That would really contribute to longevity and quality of life. And all these three subpoints are a different discussion in themselves.
That just means we'll have to have you back, right? I appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and I thought this conversation was so new and changing the way I think, not only because it's new when it comes to my understanding of some of our vital organs, but a lot of it and what you drill home is stuff that doesn't cost anything, like health can really be not the most expensive and $2 million type of ordeal. And I think that's a tough pill to swallow because we all want the things that are new and novel and exciting and gonna change the world. But these are all just things, I mean, that are actually really hard, though I will say sleep is hard. I think meditating for me, that's difficult. I would have to practice for a long time, but they're things that have science and do have literature behind it, and
It's
they're
actually,
free.
there are ways that these can be practiced in a very non-stressful and simple manner, but we can have that discussion some other day. And the other part, which we probably did not touch upon much, was how that cellular aging affects the DNAs, the telomeres that are there, and which prevent the, cancer-causing effect of all these. So, I mean, there is a lot to it, but probably we should we could connect some other time.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and I thought this was just a fabulous discussion, and I hope everyone gets a lot of value out of it.
Perfect, it was my pleasure to be here. Happy to answer any questions even at a later point of time if someone brings up those. And all in all, it was amazing.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Dr. Arun.